This is a huge revelation. Anunnaki bloodline are traced to modern families in Europe. This is an image of statues, ancient statues of ancient peoples that were blue-eyed in the area of Israel, the land of Canaan, the Amorites. The bloodlines of the Anunnaki gods have been traced back to the modern families of Europe. Experts believe the Anunnaki came from Nibiru 430,000 years ago and colonized our planet. According to an online historian who mapped out a detailed family tree of the bloodline, the origins of the Anunnaki begins with the sky gods coming down to Earth and interbreeding with women on Earth. These women gave birth to the demigods. The different ancient cultures call the demigods by different names. In Sumeria, they were known as the Igigi. In Greece, they were known as Gigantes, the giants. In Hebrew, they were known as the Nephilim. In India, they were known as Asuras. These demigods would eventually become the antediluvian rulers mentioned in ancient myths. The rulers that lived before the deluge, the Great Flood. The most important event recorded in every ancient culture was the story of Noah. Noah was known by different names in different flood myths all around the world. In Greece, he was called Deucalion, son of Prometheus, or Deucalion, which in Greek is translated to mean the man of good omen. In Sumerian, he was called Zeusudra, son of Enki. In India, he was called Manu, the son of Apam Napat. In the book of Enoch, a 2,300-year-old Hebrew scripture, we are told that Noah was born from one of the fallen angels, and we read, "After some days my son Methuselah took a wife for his son Lamech, and she became pregnant by him and bore him a son, Noah. And his body was white as snow, the hair of his head was white as wool. And his father Lamech was afraid of him and fled, and went to Methuselah his father, and he said to him, quote, 'I have begotten a strange son. He is not like any ordinary human being, but he looks like the children of the angels of heaven to me. His form is different, and he is not like us. It does not seem to me that he is of me, but of angels.'" End quote. This is from the book of Enoch, 300 BC. Noah's father, Lamech, was afraid of him because he did not look like an ordinary human, but instead looked like, quote, "the children of the angels," end quote. Noah was thus a giant, Nephilim. It was this information that caused everything to fall into place. After the flood, Noah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. The Bible provides an extended family tree of each of Noah's sons who received different portions of the world. And Japheth divided among his sons, and the first portion came forth for Gomer to the east from the north side to the river Tina, Phrygia, and in the north there came forth Magog, all the inner portions of the north until it reached the sea of Maet, Anatolia. And for Madai came forth as his portion that he should possess from the west of his 2 brothers to the islands and to the coast of the islands, Media. And for Javan, Javan is of course the word for Greece. That's what in Turkey they call Greeks Javan. And from what I understand, also the Hebrews still call Greece Javan. And for Javan came forth the 4th portion, every island and the islands which are towards the border of Lud, Greece. And for Tiras, 4 great islands in the midst of the sea, which reached to the portion of Ham, that is the Aegean seas, the Aegean islands. And Ham divided among his sons, and the first portion came forth from Cush towards the east, and to the west of him for Mizraim, and to the west of him for Put, and to the west of him, and to the west thereof, on the sea Levant, for Canaan. And Ham and his sons went into the land which he was to occupy, which he acquired as his portion in the land of the south. And Canaan, son of Ham, saw the land of Lebanon to the river of Egypt, that it was very good, and he went not into the land of his inheritance to the west, that is, to the sea, and he dwelt in the land of Lebanon, eastward and westward from the border of Jordan and from the border of the sea. As mentioned previously, the Greeks also recorded the story of Ziusudra, or Noah, known by them as the Defkalion, the man of good omen. And that's, by the way, Noah is also meant man of good omen in Hebrew. Defkalion, who had the son named Helen, a biblical Japheth, who would become the ancestor of all the ancient Greeks, Hellenes. The ancient Greek author Hesiod gives us the complete story on the descendants of Noah's son Japheth, written down on an ancient Greek papyrus called the Catalogue of Women around 700 BC, which talks about how the gods like Zeus and Poseidon continually married with Defkalion's offspring up until the Trojan War, and how their descendants became the heroes mentioned in the Greek legends. After the Trojan War, the Greek heroes dispersed on their own journeys, some pillaging cities on the coast of Lydia and the Levant, where they became known as the Philistines by the locals, or the Sea Peoples by the Egyptians. In Homer's Odyssey, the Greek hero Odysseus, Ulysses that is, tells how he and his men sailed to Egypt, where they got ambushed and slaughtered by the Egyptian king Ramesses III in 1180 BC. Quote, I conceived the idea of making a descent on Egypt, so I fitted out a fine fleet and manned it, and had 9 ships, and the people flocked to fill them. For 6 days I and my men made feast, and I found them many victims both for sacrifice to the gods and for themselves. But on the 7th day we went on board and set sail for Crete. On the 5th day we reached the river Aegyptos, that is, the river Egypt, that's probably the river Nile, where I stationed my ships in the river, bidding my men stay by them and keep guard over them, while I sent out scouts to reconnoiter from every point of vantage. But the men, in their insolence, disobeyed my orders, took to their own devices, and ravaged the land of the Egyptians, killing the men, taking their wives and children captive. The alarm was soon carried to the city, and when they heard the war cry, the people came out at daybreak, till the plain was filled with horsemen and foot soldiers, and with the gleam of armor. Then Zeus spread panic among my men, and they would no longer face the enemy, for they found themselves surrounded. The Egyptians killed many of us, and took the rest alive to do forced labor for them. Zeus, however, put in my mind to do thus, and I wish I had died then and there in Egypt instead, for there was much sorrow in store for me. I took off my helmet and shield, and dropped my spear from my hand. Then I went straight up to the king's chariot, clasped his knees and kissed them, whereon he spared my life. This is from Homer Odysseus, that is Ulysses, 850 BC. A letter from King Ramesses tells his account of the same event. The foreign countries conspired in their islands. No land could resist their arms, from Hatti, Kode, Karashemish, Arzawa, and Alashiya, on being cut off at that time. A camp was set up in Amuru in Canaan. They desolated its people, and its land was like that which had never existed. They were coming forward towards Egypt, while the flame was prepared for them. They laid their hands upon the lands as far as the circuits of the earth. Their hearts were confident and trusting, as they said, Our plans will succeed. Those who reached my boundary, their seed is not. Their heart and souls are finished forever and ever. After raiding the Middle East, and Greek heroes sailed westward, to Italy, where they became the ancestors of the Tyrsoni, or the Etruscans in Italy. In other words, the Greeks were the ones that colonized Italy and started the Roman Empire. By using the Phoenician trade routes, the Greek heroes sailed to Carthage and eventually stopped at the Phoenician port city Gades in Spain. Ancient Greek authors also mentioned the Fortunate Islands, a place where all the Greek heroes' gods lived, which was located somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. Irish mythology similarly talks about a race of demigods known as the Tuatha de Danann, who settled in Ireland long before the Milesians, the pre-Celts, who also came from the Mediterranean and the Aegean Sea, searching for the island of destiny. This is from Above Top Secret, and it's on your Newswire.